Welcome back to Neglected Garage. I hope you're enjoying the videos that I'm putting out. And today I'm going to show you around my 81 300 SD and explain, a little bit about the car. Show you around quite a few of the things that are still wrong with it, and show you or tell you about some of the things that I've already replaced on the car since I've owned it. And I will be, kind of explaining, about what I kind of want to get out of this channel. And, basically, just kind of maybe tell you about a few of the other cars that I do own. I think a lot of people that watch my videos know that I have this 81 300 SD. I also have, the 2005 C55 AMG. But those are not the only two cars that I currently own. And I'll be kind of telling you about some of the other cars that I do own, and I'll basically just kind of leave you with that for right now. But let's I'll get you some shots of a few of the things that are still wrong with my SD, and I hope you enjoy the video. And this right here is where it gets bad. Basically all of the wood inside of the car is trashed. From my best understanding, this car spent a lot of its time down in Mississippi, and the owners, previous owners, probably never done anything to take care of the wood inside of this car. This really is one of the worst parts on the car, is the wood on the inside of it. None of it is, remotely nice. I mean, this piece over here on the door panel, that's about the best piece in the whole car. And you can tell it's coming off of there, and it's just, I'm going to have to replace all of it basically. So that, like I say, all of that wood's going to have to come out. And I've found some wood on eBay, and that stuff ain't cheap, relatively speaking. But it's going to need, you can see right here, the seats in it are, the passenger side seat, I could probably pull it out and get it re-dyed. But this driver's seat over here, the side bolstering is just ate up over the years, which is kind of typical for a 40-year-old car. I've seen newer GM and even Ford vehicles that have had this side bolstering chewed up after only about 5 to 7 years. But this is just kind of the quality that you see out of a Mercedes-Benz of this era, which I'm here to tell you, I think if this car would have been properly taken care of over the years, the interior of this car would have been a lot nicer. But it was neglected, and this is a reason why the color has come out of the leather interior, and the dash is cracked. The sun visor doesn't stay up all the time. You hit a bump and it doesn't fall off or anything, but it comes down. But, other than that, basically everything else inside of this interior is pretty nice. The door panels are in great shape. All of my power windows work. The AC, the heater, all of that works perfectly. The actual control module for the AC and heater was actually replaced before I bought this car with a remanufactured unit. And that was nice because that remanufactured unit, I want to say, is about $400 to $500, and I only gave $800 for this car. So, that right there is, pretty much, almost what I gave for the car. And it also has a remanufactured cruise control amplifier in it that I still need to get in there and trace down some electrical issues, but it does have a brand new cruise control amp, and I'm sure that if I can get the wiring figured out on it, I'm sure that the cruise control on it would work. But other than that, I mean, this car, it fires up, pretty good, whenever it's warm, and the horn blows, which, for an old vehicle is kind of rare. You don't see too many 40-year-old vehicles running around anymore, that the horn still works on, which, I'm actually kind of amazed. My turn signals work, all of the lights work in the car, my lights down there on the window switches, all of those lights work, all of my dash lights work. I mean, it's, a lot of stuff like that is, stuff that I've kind of fixed on my own. And a lot of the issue with everything like that in here that was working, whenever I first got this car, nothing was working in here. The windows, the climate control, turn signals, nothing. And basically what I had to do is I got in there and pulled the fuse box. I pulled all of the fuses out of it and got in there and cleaned everything up real well, and put new fuses in it, and basically everything started working again. I do need to get in there and replace the ignition switch, just because it is starting to give me a little bit of a problem turning it on, actually turning the switch. So I'm going to have to replace that at some point. But yeah, I do have an aftermarket Pioneer headset in it right now, which it's okay for the moment, but I'm not going to leave that in there. I want to find I say a more modern head unit, but I want something that looks like what would be aftermarket for this car back in the 80s. And I've found a few things that I do like, but one of my other problems is about kind of modernizing this car is this car came with 4x6 speakers, and yeah, you can find them, but the 4x6 speaker never really sounded that great. And I bought adapters to adapt the 4x6 to just like a regular 3-inch tweeter, and most of the tweeters that I've found so far will not clear underneath the covers on the dash. So I'm still debating on what I want to do there, um, but yeah. And now I'm basically going to show you a few of the things that I've done under the hood on this car. Um, as you can see, the hood is actually up in the service position. Some people do not know that, and I'm not sure exactly what year, Mercedes decided to start doing this. I mean, I'm not as familiar with, older, Mercedes-Benzes, but the service position is basically um, put there to where you can open the hood straight up into the air to make it easier to get in there to work on things. And that is a feature that I absolutely love because, it just makes everything so much easier to get to, and just being able to move around underneath the hood of a car, you know you're not really underneath of the hood anymore because it does open straight up, and you know gives you so much more room to be able to get in and work on it. And this Mercedes here does it, the C55 does it, and my other car, which is the 84 Euro Spec 300 TD, also does it. And you know, this right here, this is just one of the features that I love about Mercedes-Benz, is just the fact that you can open up the hood on them, and it just makes it so much easier to get in there and work on things. But one of the first things that I done to it was I came in here, and whenever I first got the vehicle, I had no idea what kind of, fluids were in it or anything else like that. So before I even thought about starting this thing up, I drained the radiator, I changed the oil, um, power steering fluid. And some people don't know this, but there is actually a filter down inside of your power steering pump on older Mercedes Benzes. Um, you know, I changed that out, which, you know, I'm probably going to go ahead and do that again just because, I really don't know how old the fluid was in this car. And, I just feel safer, putting in a new filter just because, there might have been contaminants in there that didn't get cleaned out whenever, I changed the power steering fluid. Um, I replaced both of the filters, the diesel filters on this car, twice actually. The first time, I changed them, and then I fired it up and let it run. And I thought, I've got two more extra filters for this thing, so instead of just running it on whatever stuff might have been in the in the fuel tank and in the lines, I took both of those fuel filters off after running it for I can't remember, it was probably an hour and a half, and I replaced those filters with brand new ones again. And I'm probably going to go ahead maybe sometime here in the next couple of months, and I might just replace them again, just because they're cheap, inexpensive, and you know you don't you don't really want to get anything into the injector pump on these, because I don't want to take a chance of messing up the injector pump, because they're not, they're not too terribly cheap. But, I replaced the air filter 2 times already. Um, it's got a brand new Exide battery in it that I bought at, believe it or not, Home Depot, and that was the cheapest place I could find a battery for this car. And if you don't know, Exide batteries are actually pretty good batteries. I went to Walmart, local auto parts stores, and everybody wanted from between $140 at the cheapest at Walmart to anywhere up around $200 at auto parts stores. And this battery right here that I bought at Home Depot only cost me $110. So if you're a diesel owner and you need a battery, I would highly suggest that you go to Home Depot and see if they might have a battery for your car, because honestly, they are so much cheaper at Home Depot than anywhere else I could find around here. But, back to it, I've gotten in here, I replaced a gasket on the thermostat housing that was leaking. I replaced the thermostat and the gasket for it. I've replaced, basically all of the belts, which I'm kind of having an issue with. And whenever I go ahead and I decide to do the radiator in the thing, which I still haven't received, and more on that, but whenever I get in there to replace all of that, I need to look at something that's going on with the belts on this thing, because it keeps on chewing them up and, tossing them, and it's just not working right for me. But, I've also replaced this PCV hose on here because it was broken off whenever I got it. And, that's pretty much about it. I've replaced, this little hose right here, the coolant overflow hose. And, like I say, I replaced all of the fuses inside of the fuse box. And now you can get 2 different types of fuses for these things. They make just a regular steel kind of fuse, and then they make a brass one. I highly recommend the brass one, because the reason why this car here was having so many electrical problems is because those old steel fuses that somebody had put in here had gotten in there and corroded inside of the fuse box. And that's what was causing a lot of issues with this car. The headlight over here wasn't working. The fog lights here didn't work. The only light on this car that actually worked when I got it was that driver's side headlight over there. None of the tail lights would work. None of the turn signals worked. I mean, nothing. And then I got in there and I cleaned up that fuse box, with some electrical cleaner. And then I used just a little wire brush on the terminals in there. And miraculously enough, it brought all of the lights back, the power windows, the heater and AC control. And, I just couldn't believe that, all of that stuff came back and worked after just getting in there and cleaning up that fuse box. So, but kind of on that note, I'll give you a little walk around of the body on the thing. I've kind of done a little bit of work to it myself to, try to get it cleaned up and shining a little bit better. But the body on this car is not, well, I say the body. the paint on this car is not 100%. And now let's take a look at the body on this car. Um, the paint on it is actually a very nice color for being brown. It's got, you know, quite a bit of, well, I say quite a bit. It's got, you know, some metallic in it, which, you know, I think really makes this car, you know, pop, you know, in the sunlight. If you've seen my picture on, you know, the channel, you know, the main picture, you know, out in the sunlight, this car looks, you know, amazing for, you know, for what it is. You know, it's a 20-footer, you know, at best. But, you know, you can take a look at, you know, a few things on it, like the chrome. You know, the chrome on this car is just, you know, not in the best of shape. I mean, it's scratched up, you know, it's pitted, and you know, I'm just not sure, you know, what I'm going to do about it yet. Or if I actually am going to do anything for it. But there are a few things that I do want to get replaced. The turn signals up here are cracked. The headlight bezels are not in the best of shape. And, you know, it's, you know, it is what it is. You know, the headlight bezels are not, you know, that bad, but, you know, the driver's side one over there does have some decent cracks in it. And, you know, that, you know, I'm still kind of on the edge, you know, if I want to replace those, which I think I might go ahead and do it, because, you know, if I replace the turn signals, it's probably not going to look nearly as well if I don't replace those headlight bezels. But moving down the side of the car here, you can see like little pieces like this right here, you know, the trim, these little fasteners on the door. Some of them don't work the best anymore. You know, you can pop it back in and it'll stay, but you know, the second you open the door and shut it, they just pop right back out. So I'm definitely going to replace that. I'm not 100% sure yet what I'm going to do about the mirror caps. You know, it's not like they're broke or anything else like that, but I'm thinking that I might pull them off and see if I can't, you know, repaint them, you know, into a factory color. But, you know, I'm just, you know, these are kind of the least of my worries at the moment, is, you know, replacing or, you know, painting, you know, stuff like this. I really got, you know, a few more mechanical issues that I want to try to get fixed on this car, because, you know, it does have a couple of mechanical issues with it that I still haven't, you know, fixed on it. But there are a couple of other things that I forgot about that I've done to the thing. I did get in there and replace the transmission modulator, which, you know, controls, you know, you know, how hard the car shifts, and, you know, basically that. Because whenever I first got this car, you know, I got it, you know, all the fluids changed and everything like that. And I took it out for its first drive, and whenever it would shift gears, it would just hammer gears. And, you know, that's not good, you know, especially on a, you know, 40-year-old Mercedes that, you know, has obviously been neglected. But you know, getting back to the paint, um, you know, I've came in here, wet sanded it, and, you know, got it back to where it's got, you know, a fairly decent shine to it. Um, you know, like I say, it's not 100%. You know, there's a place back here on the quarter panel that I kind of got through and got through the paint and kind of burned it, but you know, it's you know, it's not that obvious, you know, from here, but you know, I can still see it. I know where it's at, and you know, I just don't know what I'm going to do about that yet. But I have replaced both of the rear CV axles in this car, which a lot of people said that you're not going to be able to find a complete CV axle for this car. Well, there's an old local auto parts store that actually found them for me. And if you need part numbers, you know, if you've got, I think it's anywhere from 81 to 85 on these 300 SDs. I think this part number that I have will work for you for a complete shaft. And I replaced both of them on this car. So hit me up in the comments section, and you know, if you need them, I can get you a part number for it. But you know, overall, you know, the wheels, you know, these are not factory Mercedes wheels. These are I want to say they're ASAs that places like the Tire Rack sell. And you know, they're, you know, so far they've been, you know, a pretty good wheel. You know, yeah, some people might not like them, but you know, honestly, I do kind of like them. I think they fit the car very well. About the only thing that I don't like about these wheels on here is that fitment back there on the back. They just look like they're too far in. I'm thinking about getting spacers and maybe kind of spacing them out a little bit. But you can see over there on the left side, that is one of the factory bunts that came on this car. And you know, if I was looking to go, you know, for a full restoration on this thing, that is what I'd put back on it. But you know, that's not what I'm looking for at all with this car. I just want to make it a good, you know, modern, you know, daily driver. And you know, that's kind of what I've been doing now for you know, for about the last year. This has been my daily driver, and it's been, you know, it's been a really good car. It hasn't left me stranded. Um, you know, it starts up, you know, every time that I've ever needed it to. And, you know, I absolutely, you know, I enjoy driving this car. But, you know, and this kind of leads me back to, you know, what I want to do with it. You know, I've told a few people that I'd like to, get in here and, put some of those H&R coil springs on it, to lower it down a little bit. But I'm just not sure if I want to do that, because I enjoy driving the car so much as it is right now that I don't know if I really want to change something like that on it. I'm going to modernize the stereo in it, that's for sure, because I do enjoy you know a good sounding stereo system. And you know some people, think that the old Becker, sound system in these cars were, good enough. And, for what they were in the time, yeah, they were pretty good. But, car stereo systems have come so much further than what they were, you know, 40 years ago, much less even 20 years ago, that, I'd be a lot happier if I had, you know, like, a Bluetooth stereo that I could hook up to my phone and, play my music off of it like that. And, I think I would just enjoy that so much better than, well, particularly what I got in there right now. And, even if I was to put it back completely stock, I would much rather have, you know, some more modern, stereo components in it. So, but kind of on that note, I'm going to give you a little bit of a update on the radiator and what's going on with that, why I haven't received it, and what I plan on doing about it. Well, if you made it this far into the video, I'd like to thank you for watching it. And, I hope, you learned a little bit about my car and, what I'd like to, eventually do to it. It's like I was talking about, doing those H&R springs on it. I've thought about doing that, but I'm just not 100% sure yet that's what I want to do. A few other things that I want to do to it, I've checked out all of the bushings and ball joints and everything else like that underneath the suspension. And for being 40 years old, everything underneath of this car, whenever it comes to suspension, ball joints, and stuff like that, is actually still good, which is pretty amazing on on a car of this age. But I want to get in there, and I still would like to get in there and replace it, because some of those bushings, I'm sure that if I went in and I put in new stuff, it'd probably just tighten everything up just a little bit nicer. And the car still does drive pretty good. It's not a speed machine. It's just a 5-cylinder turbo diesel with something like 120 horsepower, I think. But it'll still get out there on the highway and cruise 75, 80 mile an hour, which is kind of pushing it. But I work about 10 minutes from where I live here, and I daily drive it back and forth to work. And I've taken it on a few bigger road trips. I drove it from where I live to another town, which is almost 200 miles away from me, and getting up on the interstate, and just running, pretty good with traffic, and I had zero issues with this car. Some people ask me, why do you mess around with that old car? It needs so much work and everything else like that. And, I tell them, the car itself, as far as running and driving, it runs and drives, great. Especially after I've gotten in there and, replaced stuff like that vacuum modulator and the CV shafts in the back. Now, there are a couple of things that I do want to replace that would probably make it drive a lot better, which is, namely the shocks. The shocks in the back are not the greatest. The shocks up front are pretty good, but, I want to get in there and replace all of that. And, I think after I do that, I'll be pretty well set on, having this thing driving, down the road, really well. But, that kind of takes me to where I'm at with the radiator on this thing. I'm not going to call out, any company that had, or that said that they had the parts, for me to fix the radiator and, a few other things, because that's just, I don't really want to call anybody out like that. But, I've moved on from that company, canceled my order with them, and I basically have ordered all of my parts now through FCP Euro. And I've ordered, I've been ordering parts for them, basically since I got my C55. And they've been top notch, very communicative if something's gone wrong with an order. And overall, I am highly satisfied with FCP Euro, and that's who I'm going to be going through. They don't have a bunch of parts for these cars, but they do have everything that I need, that I want to replace as far as the radiator goes, and suspension components and stuff like that. So that's basically who I'm going to be going through to get those parts, and they should be here. If I look at my UPS tracking data, my parts should be here by next Thursday, which, being, times like these, whenever it takes, some companies, weeks to ship parts, they're actually, pretty well on the ball about, getting people their stuff. And that's one thing that I, applaud them at is, getting me the parts that I need, in a timely manner, and, all of that. But, I basically have thought about, changing out these wheels for something a little different, but, I'm still, kind of on the fence about that. I just want to get it, back up, running and driving, as it should, and, who knows, we'll just kind of go from there. But like I say, if you've made it this far into the video, I hope you enjoyed it. Just giving you a little bit of a breakdown on my car. And, if you enjoy this video, give it a like, consider subscribing. I will have a lot more videos on this car to come, and thanks for watching.